Hello, welcome to today's Daf Yomi edition, Daf 29, using Steinsaltz edition of Arakhin. And let's dive straight in. So the Gemara says, Tani Rabbanan, the sages taught that the occasions of property for priests have no redemption, and one gives the property to the priest. With regard to these dedications, as long as they remain in the house of the owner. So the footnote here, Kol Zaman She'ein with regard to dedicated designated a priest, as long as they are in the house of the owner, they are consecrated property in every sense. Once they have been given to the priest, they are entirely non-sacred. That's in the Rambam Sefer Flor, 6.5. As they are considered like consecrated property in every sense, as is stated, every dedicated item is most sacred to the Lord, Leviticus 27:28. Once the owner has given them to the priest, they are in every sense like non-sacred property. As is stated, everything dedicated in Israel shall be yours, in Numbers 18:14. It shall be like all other regular property belonging to a priest, which is non-sacred. The mission teaches. Rabbi Yehuda ben Bateva says dedications donated without specification donated in temple maintenance, as is stated, every dedicated item is very sacred to the Lord, Leviticus 27:28, agreed. And the rabbi said that they are designated by priest, as is stated, as a field is dedicated, its possession shall be to the priest. Verse 27:21. Whereas the verse cited by Rabbi Yehuda ben Bateva teaches that dedication takes effect offerings of the most sacred order and offerings of lesser sanctity. The Gemara asks, granted the opinion of the rabbis is clear, as they explain their reason and the reason of Rabbi Yehuda ben Bateva, they interpreted the verse he cited as his proof. But as for Rabbi Yehuda ben Bateva, this verse, as the field dedicated, its possession shall be to the priest. What does he do with it? I.e., what does he derive from it? The Gemara responds, the verse is necessary for him for that which is taught in a Braita that discusses the case of one who consecrates his ancestral field and fails to redeem it. This field becomes the possession of the priest and the Jubilee year. The Braita teaches, why was the verse stated at its end, as a field dedicated, the possession shall be to the priest? The Braita explains, from where is it derived with regard to a priest who consecrates his dedicated field? Kohen Hikdish Sadeh Chomo, if a priest received a dedicated field after the Jubilee year, and he dedicated it, the field is dedicated and passed to possession of the other priest. The Rambam's version of the text apparently read, a priest who dedicated his dedicated field. Rambam I feel it was dedicated by an Israelite and was given to him, and then he consecrated, and then the Jubilee year arrived, that he may not say, since the field that was consecrated by its owner was not redeemed goods out of the owner's possession and passed to the possession of the priest of the Jubilee year, and this field that I consecrated is already my possession is therefore mine, the Braita adds, and this claim of the priest is based on logical inference. If I acquire the field of others that were consecrated and not redeemed in the Jubilee year, then with regard to my own property, all the more so is it not clear that I should acquire it. Therefore, the verse states, with regard to ancestral field that one consecrated, as a field dedicated, its possession shall be to the priest, which teaches that this priest does not acquire the field. The Braita explains the derivation. But what have we learned about a consecrated ancestral field from a dedicated field? In other words, the verse which is dealing with an ancestral field says an ancestral field is like a dedicated field, but does not explicitly state the halacha of dedicated fields. Rather, this case of a dedicated field comes to teach a halacha about an ancestral field, but is found to derive a halacha from that case. Either verse juxtaposes a dedicated field of a priest to the ancestral field of an Israelite. With regard to an ancestral field that was consecrated in the possession of a priest, the priest may not say, since the field passed to the priest, it is in my possession and I have acquired it. Rather, it passes to the possession of the priest. The halacha is in accordance with the ruling of the Mishnah 25a and Sefer Flor 4:23. The Braita clarifies how the halacha is derived from a juxtaposition. Just the ancestral field of an Israelite, which was redeemed by a priest when the temple treasury goes out of his possession at the arrival of the Jubilee and is divided among the priests of the servant at the beginning of the Jubilee, see 25b, we did that previously. So too, the dedicated field of a priest that remained in his possession goes out of his possession and is divided among his brothers, the priest of the watch serving at the beginning of the Jubilee year. The Gemara asks, and the other, the rabbis, from where did they derive this halacha? The Gemara responds, they derive it from a superfluous term in the verse that they could have merely stated dedicated, cherem, from which one would have derived that unspecified dedication designated for the priest. Yet the verse actually states with a definite article, hey, and therefore both halachot are derived from this verse. The Gemara notes, as for the other, Rabbi Yehuda ben Batera, he does not learn anything from the difference between chema and ha-chemim. Accordingly, he derives from here only that if a priest consecrates his dedicated field, it's removed from his possession. The Gemara asks, and as for Rabbi Yehuda ben Batera, from where does he derive that a dedication takes effect on offerings of the most sacred order and offerings of lesser sanctity? Which, according to the rabbis, is learned from the verse, every dedicated item is the most sacred to the Lord, in Leviticus 27:28. Well, answers, he holds in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yishmael, who derives this halacha with another source, as explained in the mission below. Rav says, the halacha is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda ben Batera, that unspecified dedications of property are designated for temple maintenance. The Gemara asks, and would Rav leave aside the majority opinion of the rabbis and act in accordance with the individual opinion of Rabbi Yehuda ben Batera? The Gemara answers, this dispute is taught in a braita. The word braita literally means external or outside, and it is used in reference to Tanaic material that was not included in the final compilation of the Mishnah. When Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi redacted the collection of Tanaic material, it was necessary to exclude much of it from the framework of the Mishnah. The material, some of it which is found in the collection known as braitot or external mishnayot. These braitot contain variant texts and other important matters. Much of the Talmud is devoted to discussion and analysis of braitot. In the opposite manner, i.e., it is the rabbis who hold that unspecified dedications are designated for temple maintenance. The Gemara asks, would Rav leave aside a Mishnah and act in accordance with the braita? The Gemara responds, Rav teaches the Mishnah as well in the opposite manner, in accordance with the braita. The Gemara asks, what did you see that you chose to reverse the opinion of the Mishnah due to the braita? And the opinion in the braita due to the Mishnah. The Gemara answers, Rav learned by tradition from his teachers that the opinion cited in the Mishnah should be reversed. The Gemara asks, if so, why does Rav state that the halacha is according to the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda ben Batera? He should have said it is in accordance to the opinion of the rabbis. The Gemara explains that this is what Rav is saying. In accordance to the manner in which you reverse his opinions and taught them in the Mishnah, the halacha is in accordance to the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda ben Batera. The Gemara relates that there was a certain man who dedicated his property in Pumbedita. What's Pumbedita? A city on the Euphrates River, northwest of Nahardea. Pumbedita was an important center of the Babylonian Jewish community for many generations. As early as the Second Temple period, Pumbedita was called the diaspora, and was considered the center of Babylonian Jewry. After the destruction of Nahardea, some scholars from its yeshiva relocated to Pumbedita, and from then on, Torah study continued there without interruption until the end of the Gunnic period. The scholars in Pumbedita were particularly famous for their acumen. It was one of the heads of the Pumbedita yeshiva, including its founder Rav Yehuda Rabba, Rav Yosef Abaye, Rav Naman Bar Yitzchak, Rav Zeved, and Rafam Bar Papa. The Pumbedita yeshiva was highly prominent in the Gunnic period as well, often overshadowing the yeshiva in Surah. The last heads of the Pumbedita yeshiva were the renowned Gaonim Oshea Gaon and the son of Haya Gaon. He came before Rav Yehuda to ask him what to do. Rav Yehuda said to him, take 4 dinars and desacralize the dedicated property by transferring the sanctity onto them, and then throw the dinars into the river, because one may not derive benefit from them, and then the property will be permitted to you, as it will have been redeemed. The Gemara notes, evidently Rabbi Yehuda holds an unspecified dedication of property are designated for temple maintenance, which is why the man could redeem his property. Had the property been designated for the priest, there could have been no redemption as taught in the Mishnah. The Gemara asks, who the opinion does Rabbi Yehuda hold? When he told the man to desacralize the dedicated property by transferring the sanctity onto money worth less than the dedicated property, the Gemara responds, he holds an according to the opinion of Shmuel, who said, consecrated property worth 100 dinars that one desacralized onto an item worth 1 pruta is desacralized. With regard to both consecrated property designated for temple maintenance and sacrificial items which are like a blemish, they are redeemed according to their value ab initio. If one transgressed and desacralized his property by means of an item worth less than its value, even the consecrated property was worth 100 dinars, and he desacralized it with an object worth 1 pruta. The property is redeemed and becomes non-sacred and permitted for use. By rabbinic law, it must be appraised and the unpaid value given to the temple treasury. The sages determined that one should redeem the property with 4 dinars or slightly less, so that the matter will be publicized. Nevertheless, nowadays one may redeem confiscated property of anybody by desacralizing it into 1 pruta of amnesia, and the money is thrown into the Dead Sea. And that's in the Rambam Sefer Hilchos Avichim Rachmim 7:8. The Gemara asks, one can say that Shmuel said that this is a halacha only in a case where one already desacralized the property, i.e. after the fact. Did he say one may do so ab amnesia? The Gemara responds, this matter, that one must desacralize confiscated property onto an item where the value of the property ab amnesia applies only during a period when the temple is standing. As there is a lost cause to the temple treasury by desacralizing its property onto an item worth less than its value. But in the present time, when the temple is not standing and there is no temple treasury, one may desacralize with an item worth less than a consecrated property, even ab amnesia. The Gemara asks, if so, the one may desacralize even with 1 pruta as well. Why then did Rabbi Yehuda require the man to use 4 dinars? The Gemara responds, he required 4 dinars in order to publicize the matter, so that the community will know that the property is permitted for use only because it was redeemed. But it says, if I had been there when this man asked what to do, I would have given all the property to the priest. The Gemara knows, evidently Ula holds that an unspecified indication of property is designated for the priest, and therefore they cannot be redeemed. It can be inferred from the previous discussion that the halacha of dedication are in effect even today. The Gemara raises an objection to this opinion from a Baraita. The sale of a Hebrew slave is practiced only in Eved Ivri, Noheg Elo Chulu. During the period when the Jubilee is not observed, the halacha pertaining to Hebrew slaves' houses of all cities dedicated to the field does not apply. Additionally, a ger toshav is not accepted into the community, as the Rambam Sefer Zerayim Hilchot Shemitah V'Yeruvel the Nine Shulchan Aruch a day 267:4. During the period when the Jubilee period is observed, as is stated, and if your brother be waxen poor with you and sell himself to you, he shall serve with you until the year of the Jubilee. Leviticus 27:39-40. And likewise, the halacha pertaining to a dedicated ancestral field apply only during a period that the Jubilee is observed. This is referring to the entire body of halacha governing ancestral field when the Jubilee year is observed. Accordingly, if one sells his ancestral field when the Jubilee year is not observed, it is not returned to him at the arrival of the Jubilee year, and the owner cannot force the buyer to sell the field to him. Even if the buyer agrees to sell, the price is determined by him rather than according to the number of years remaining until the Jubilee year. And furthermore, if one consecrates ancestral field, it is redeemed not in accordance with the fixed valuation of 50 shekel or shekels per area for sowing a baker of barley seed, but its actual worth, and that's from Rashi. As is stated, then that which he has sold shall remain in the hand of him that he has bought, and in the Jubilee it shall go out, and he shall return to his possession. Leviticus 20. Finally, halacha pertaining to houses of all cities apply only during a period when the Jubilee is observed, as is stated. Then the house that is in the walled city shall be made in perpetuity to him that bought it. Throughout generation shall not go out in the Jubilee in Leviticus 27:30. Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai says, the halacha pertaining to a dedicated field apply only during a period when the Jubilee is observed. As is stated, but the field when it goes out in the Jubilee year shall be taken to the Lord, as the field dedicated possession shall be to the people. Leviticus 27:21. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar says, the halacha pertaining to a Gentile who resides in Eretz Yisrael and observes 7 Noachide mitzvot, the ger toshav, a Gentile who stepped upon himself the 7 Noachide laws is called a ger toshav, and is permitted to dwell among the Jewish people in Eretz Yisrael. When the Jubilee year is not observed, the ger toshav is not accepted into the community. The Rabbi writes, it is permitted for ger toshav to dwell among the Jews, but the halacha pertaining specifically to a ger toshav do not apply. Rambam Sefer Mother Hilchot Avodah Zarah 10:6 and Sefer Kedusha Hilchot Yisur Be'er 14:8. A Gentile seeks to reside permanently in Eretz Yisrael must accept upon himself the observance of certain mitzvot. There are several opinions with regard to the extent of the required commitment. Some authorities maintain that he need only except the prohibition against idol worship, whereas others are obligated to observe virtually all of the prohibitions with the exception of the consumption of certain forbidden foods. According to most opinions, he must observe the 7 no-chai mitzvah, apply only during a period when the Jubilee is observed. Rav Bevai said, what is the reason? It's derived from a verb analogy between well and well. It is written here with regard to a Hebrew slave who can be sold only when the Jubilee is observed, because he fares well with you in Deuteronomy 15:16. And it is written there with regard to a Ger Toshav, where it is well for him, you shall not wrong him, Deuteronomy 23:17. The Gemara's objection, and it is evident from the Braita that halacha pertaining to dedicated field apply only when the Jubilee is observed. The Gemara explains that this is not difficult. His Braita discussing the halacha with regard to land, whereas that incident in Probedita in which the dedication was effect occurred with movable property. One who dedicates movable property nowadays, not specifying what matter it is dedicated, gives the property to the priest found in the place of his dedication. But if one dedicated a field in Eretz Yisrael without specification, or if he dedicated it for the priest, the property is not dedicated, as the halacha of dedicated fields apply only when the Jubilee is observed. If one dedicated land outside of Eretz Yisrael to the priest, even nowadays, the land is considered like movable property in Eretz Yisrael and given to the priest. The Ravid writes, there is an opinion that when the Braita states that halacha pertaining to the dedicated field does not apply today, this means that the dedicated property is not given to the priest but to God. 8:11. The Gemara raises a difficulty, but that incident that occurred in Probedita involved land as well, and Rabbi Yehuda nevertheless required the man to redeem them. The Gemara responds, land outside of Eretz Yisrael is considered movable property in Eretz Yisrael. The Mishnah. Rabbi Shmuel Omer. Kasur Echad Omer. All of the firstborn males that are born of your herd and of your flock, you shall consecrate to the Lord your God in Deuteronomy 15:19. And one verse states, however, the firstborn among the animals that is born first to the Lord, a man shall not consecrate it. Leviticus 27:26. It is impossible to say you shall consecrate, as it already stated, a man shall not consecrate. And like impossible to say a man shall not consecrate, as it is already stated, you shall consecrate. How then can these verses be reconciled? You can consecrate the firstborn animal by consecration of value. Eloi refers to an appraisal, as in its market value is assessed. Ma'alin, the Rashi alternative, Eloi means an addition. The mission is referring to a consecration that leads to an addition in the sense of value given to the temple. Rambam's commentary on the Mishnah. I.e., an individual can donate to the temple treasury that the amount he would be willing to pay for the right to give the firstborn to a specific priest, and you cannot consecrate it by a consecration for the altar. One who changes the status of consecrated items from one type of sanctity to another has violated prohibition, as the verse states with regard to the firstborn animal. A man shall not consecrate it, Leviticus 27:26, indicating one may not consecrate the burnt offering or a peace offering. From the Sefer Kabbalah Hilchot to 4:11. As the firstborn may not be sacrificed for the sake of any other offering. The Gemara, the Rabbanan, the Gemara comments, the rabbis who derive the halacha that a dedication takes effect on all offerings from the verse, every dedication is sacred to the Lord, Leviticus 27:28, would explain that the verse, a man shall not consecrate, is necessary to see that there is a total prohibition against consecrating a firstborn animal for the sake of an offering. As for the other verse discussed in the Mishnah, you shall consecrate, it is necessary for that which is taught in a Braita. From where is it derived that with regard to a firstborn animal that was born in one's flock, that it is a mitzvah to consecrate it verbally as a firstborn? It is a mitzvah to consecrate a kosher firstborn by saying this is consecrated. If one did not consecrate it, the animal is still automatically consecrated, as its sanctity is from its mother's womb. That's Rambam Sefer Kabbalah Hilchot Brachot 1:4, Shulchan Aruch Yodeh 6:1. As it is stated, the male firstborns are born of your herd and of your flock, you shall consecrate. And Rabbi Shmuel, who maintained that there is no such mitzvah, would argue, if one does not consecrate it verbally, is the animal not consecrated? It certainly is consecrated as a sanctity from the womb. And since when one does not consecrate it, the animal is not sanctified automatically, he does not need to consecrate it verbally. And now we move on to the summary of chapter 8. The first part of this chapter addressed redemption of a field from the temple treasury during a period when the Jubilee year is not observed, and the price of redemption is consequently not determined by the valuation stipulated in the Torah. The Gemara concluded that there was a mitzvah for the owner of the field to redeem it. The treasurer instructs him to open the bidding for its redemption. If he fails to comply, he is forced to do so. One reason for this is that the temple treasury stands to benefit from an offer made by the owner. Or the field is presumably more valuable to him than to others, and he will offer a higher price for its redemption. Additionally, the owner must add 1/5 to his offer. If it was also concluded that if one consecrates a field due to its low quality, he may offer to redeem it for a nominal amount and may pay even with the equivalent of money. Nevertheless, as the owner must add 1/5, he must pay with an item 1/5 of whose value is worth less than a peruta, i.e., an item worth at least 4 perutot. In a case where multiple offers are submitted for the field, if the owner's offer matches that of the others, he gains precedence because he adds 1/5. In a situation where the others propose more than the owner, if the owner's offer surpasses theirs when the additional 1/5 is taken into account, redeems the field in accordance with the offer of the other person, although the additional 1/5 is calculated according to the owner's offer. The chapter also discuss other instances where multiple offers are submitted and some of them are subsequently retracted. It was concluded that an offer to purchase consecrated property is binding, and therefore one who reneges on his offer must pay the temple treasury the difference between his offer and the next highest offer. If the second individual reneged together with the first, the difference between their offers and the next highest offer is split between them. The second part of the chapter deals with dedications, which are absolute consecration of one's property to heaven. The Mishnah taught that it is prohibited to dedicate all of one's property or even all of one type of property, e.g. all of his animals or all his land. It was further derived from this case that in general one should not be sparing with his money, and one should be sparing with his money and not give it all away to charity, so that he would not become dependent on the charity of others. The sages therefore institute that one should not give more than 1/5 of his wealth to charity. There are two types of dedication to God, dedication to the priest. Essentially, dedicated to God have the status of consecrated property which can be redeemed. All halacha stated specifically with regard to dedications are referring to dedication to priests. Accordingly, if one dedicates his property to the priest, or without specifying to whom, in which case the halacha is that the property given to the priest, it can never be redeemed. It was further concluded that one who dedicates movable property may give it to any priest of his choice, where dedicated land is divided among the members of the priestly watch serving in the temple at the time of the dedication. Since dedicated property cannot be redeemed, one may dedicate only items over which he maintains absolute ownership, e.g. Canaanite slaves and maid servants or his ancestral field. He may not dedicate sons or daughters, nor may he dedicate a purchased field by contrast. One may dedicate sacrificial animals that he is obligated to bring as an offering. The body of the animal itself is not dedicated, rather it is only the monetary state that one has in it is dedicated. He must give that value to the temple treasury. Such a dedication is called a dedication of value. It was further concluded that the priests and Levites differ with regard to their ability to dedicate their property. Priests may not dedicate any of their property as dedicated property belongs to them. Levites may dedicate their movable property, but may not dedicate land received as a portion of empty soil. In connection to the discussion of dedication during the period when the Jubilee is not observed, one mentions several halachas that apply only when the Jubilee year is practiced. And that was the end of that chapter, and that was the end of Amud A. Wish you a very good day and peace in Israel. All the best. Bye.